Franny Night.
The biggest shift that we're seeing right now is social media is a communication tool like no other communication tool other than when the telephone came into existence. That was a major shift for us too. Even this is a bigger shift than emailing, websites, the internet, because social media is an actual many-to-many tool that companies are having to struggle with whether they're going to incorporate it into their process. And what we're finding out is that they're finally realizing, just in the last couple of years, I believe, that they have to bring social media into their companies, because up to this point many companies have been blocking Facebook. Employees can't get onto Facebook because it's just like when the telephone first came into existence. Companies didn't want to bring the telephone into their operations either. I don't know if anybody knows that, but they didn't, because they said that they didn't want their employees to making calls to all their friends and family and goofing off or releasing trade secrets. And if you look at the resistance to social media in workplaces today, it's the very same reason. But this is a bigger shift than the telephone. And what's really interesting to me about this shift is that we have been probably over the last decade been really preparing managers and leaders that we're going to have to allow people to have more freedom in how they're managing themselves and how they're doing teams versus a command and control. Every CEO in this country has said that the #1 thing that's missing in their employees is creativity and innovation, that they believe their employees are not creative and innovative enough to take us into the next stage of what corporations need. But the challenge has been in the last 10 years is that even though they know that they need more creativity out of their employees, the structures and the operations that companies have had do not allow employees to be creative and innovative. But with social media, that's all going to shift. And as soon as companies get over, we're going to block this, we're not going to allow it, and get over that it's just for 20-somethings and that it's a fad and that it's going to go away, which I've seen that happen in the last 2 years. Once companies as a whole go, okay, how do we incorporate social media into our operations? How do we put up a social media policy and a strategy? How do we start using it for marketing? But that's the one thing that companies are going to realize. It's not just for marketing. It is a communication tool, not only internally, but externally with their stakeholders, their customers, their suppliers. It's all going to be a huge shift that is also going to allow for the creativity and innovation to take place like we've never seen it before.
My question was, from what I've seen companies do, some of them tell their employees to tweet or post messages about their company to the social networks, but in my mind that doesn't seem very authentic.
Okay, right. So here's the deal. If you're a company who's asking your people to tweet about your company and they don't really either want to or they don't have anything good to say about your company, then that is something that companies are now going to have to deal with that they haven't had to deal with in the past. And that is, in the past, employees could come and work and really not like their job and really not like the company. But for a good social media strategy to work for the entire company, people are going to have, your employees are going to have something good to say about your company. So why would you want to keep somebody on staff if they have nothing good to say about your company? Now, in the past you could do that. You could just ignore that because there was no megaphone. There was no way to speak of that. But here's what's going on now. People are, whether you want to accept this or not, people are talking about your company. They're out there talking about you right now. How many of the websites out there, WalmartSucks.com, ComcastMustDie.com, that's already going on. And I'm telling you, employees are going to be talking about it too, whether you know it or not. And so if you're going to do a strategy you're going to have to really work with your employees and find out what is it that they can say good about your company. And if they have nothing good to say, well, yeah, you're going to have to deal with that. I mean, it's not going to go away. This is all going to, one of the things I loved about Mark Zuckerberg when he created Facebook and what he says, and people so disagree with him on this, and I'm seeing it happening more and more and more. And what he said is that because we are moving into more transparency in our lives because of social media. So you used to be able to have a business life and a personal life. And you didn't have to bring your personal life into your business life. You could be two different people. And what Mark says, and what he says of the Generation Y, is that they're a little bit more transparent. They want to be the person that they are when they work. They don't want to shut themselves off when they come to work. They want to be truly authentic of who they are. And so we are going to see that happening more and more. These younger generations are going to come to work and they are going to be true to who they are. And the people who are not able to do that, because of these shifts in the communication tools with social media, it's going to get harder and harder for them to be two different persons to the public. It's going to be a very difficult thing for them, and you're going to see this. This is going to happen.
So from what I've studied, I've learned that companies hire one person to be the social media strategist, and that they have their cell phone on 24/7 telling them when they get a new Facebook comment or Twitter message.
So all I got to say is that's the wrong approach. That has been the approach, and that's the approach of companies thinking social media is just a marketing tool. Social media is a communication tool, not a marketing tool. It can be a marketing tool, but if companies need to come at it as, okay, how are we going to bring this in, just like we brought the telephone in, just like we brought in emails, how are we going to bring in social media that all our employees can use it as a communication tool? And one of the best examples out there right now is Ford. Ford has totally changed their entire strategy using social media as the forefront of everything that they do. And from the CEO to every employee, they are actually given a social media policy strategy manual on what they want their employees to do. They want them on Facebook, they want them on Twitter, making comments, talking to people, building up their own personal network, talking about Ford. And then the marketing department is also doing it, but it's not the only thing that is going on at Ford. And they have seen, I mean, they were in the dumps just like every other car company, and now they've seen big strides, and they attest it to taking on social media as an operational step for them.
So Franny, I want to ask you, what are you working on right now?
Well, I am so excited because I believe that the classes that I'm offering on social media marketing and social media strategy and policy for the whole company is actually leading me into companies that is going to circle back around to what I've been training and teaching on in the last 10 years, which is creative teams, creative thinking, shifting where we operate in flux and change and ambiguity. And I've been wanting to do that, and I've been trying to get companies to do this, but now, because of social media, it's going to happen. And I've been really figuring out and watching, there are companies and organizations and not-for-profits and associations out there that are already accepting social media into their operations, into their marketing, and those that don't have a lot of money or resources to do that. And those companies that are already doing that and having a bit of success at it are actually the companies that I'm most excited about, because they are already in the place as teams and as working together as a team and cross teams to be more adaptable to change and to creativity, because you cannot do what these companies are doing with social media without already having had that structure in place. So I'm so excited to go and help those companies to continue that, because they're already in a place that is going to take them to the next level. And for the companies that are not there yet, that are still struggling what to do with this social media, I believe that it's just a matter of less than a year or two that they too will be looking for some help on how do we do this? How do we get every one of our employees on Facebook, on Twitter, dealing with customers, dealing with complaints and innovation, and how do we start moving our operations into that atmosphere? And I believe that I am going to be able to help companies do this for the first time. I think it's all coming together: creativity, innovation, working as a team, less command and control hierarchy in these companies. And in the end, it's social media that is going to make that all happen. And I cannot wait to get in and help companies to take their operations into social media strategies.
So some of the corporates, the CEOs or the managers, do you think they've gotten social media wrong?
Yeah, they have, and again, it's the idea that they think it's a marketing tool, and really social media, it can be a marketing tool, but really it's not a very good marketing tool, because social media is about building networks and community and communicating with multiple people at one time. It's not marketing of the past. Advertising of the past has been like a megaphone. Social media is like the telephone. It's a conversation, and it's a multiple conversations going on, and that's why it makes it even more powerful than a telephone. But what marketers and companies who think they're going to do marketing is they're going to take their marketing messages and their commercials and everything that they've done in the past, and they're going to take all that and they're going to plop it onto social media. They're going to go and we're going to go into Facebook. And we all know that doesn't work. If you're on Facebook right now, you don't want to be sold to. That's not what you go to Facebook for. And so the companies who are just taking social media and say, okay, let's make money off of this, is really missing the whole point. Companies who are looking at social media as a way to build up communities, to build up trust, to build relationships, those are the companies who are getting this, and ultimately they will be able to sell what they have to sell because they've built that trust up. It takes a while. It's not going to happen overnight. That's why the quicker companies can get on this and start strategizing how they can use all their employees as a policy, as an operation to get social media moving in their company, then the marketing will come later. But if you're starting off as, we're going to use it as marketing, you're not going to be very successful at it. You'll be much more successful as a whole strategy for your whole company. And so I believe companies need to be hiring people to come in who understand all the social media, all the platforms, and there's multiple platforms. It's not just Facebook and Twitter, it's YouTube, it's LinkedIn, and blogging. Someone who can understand all of those platforms as a tool for communicating with their customers, not as a marketing tool. So you got to bring people in to start helping you figure out how you're going to put that into place and have a policy and a strategy for all your employees.